Hello there, YouTube. I have something very cool for you today. Here's the build. This is what we're going to be playing with today. This is one of my old builds that I wasn't using. Carrion Spy. This was a pickaxe mage that was meant to be the Elden Ring take on an old Dark Souls 3 build, the Hazel Pick, that I loved so much. Well, it turns out I could play that exact same way with a long sword or whatever, straight sword. And so that evolved into Frog, and this build was left behind as this sort of like vestigial evolutionary misstep, you know. And so I thought, I'm not doing anything with that build, and I've really been wanting to make a sneaky build because of Peeve. Peeve's assassin build is so fun to watch him play that. It is so much fun. I'm always naming my characters after Final Fantasy Tactics, Tactics Ogre, Vagrant Story. I thought, why not show some love to one of my other favorite games, Resident Evil 2, so this is Cut Purse Ada. And this build is heavily inspired by Peeve's assassin character. Mine is a little different. They play a little differently because we play a little differently. Both of us are patient and spiteful. However, we are also, I don't know, maybe... I don't want to sell Peeve short on this, but I am malicious and... yeah, in a different way, malicious. You know, Peeve, you know, I watched him in Demon Souls. He used Soul Suck on like this just brand new player in the old monk fight. Literally took this guy from level like 60 to 0, and that's a level of maliciousness that I don't want to undersell. Just different types of malicious, I guess. So very similar builds. What would happen if two players who played differently ran very similar builds? This is the answer to that. So, since this was originally a build that was designed to be the Elden Ring take on one of my Dark Souls 3 builds, I thought, let's keep with that spirit, and I threw Umari? What the hell is Umari, right? Jesus Christ. The big metal whip. I put that on the build, and that's in the offhand. It has Raptor of the Mist on it. I will occasionally two-hand it, but for the most part, it's the Lord Sworn straight sword for quick step. We've got the pulley bow. We've got the talisman that makes us invisible if we're crouching and, you know, not very close to our opponent. We're wearing the trick mirror so that we can blend into environments a little better. Pulley bow for damage, black bow for speed, and I am using Night Maiden's Mist, which is an absolute horror. Like if you're an invader, this spell is just an absolute horror. So like the way Peeve plays this build, he's going to use the arrows that make sound, and he wants you to go investigate the sound, and then he's going to shoot you with an arrow from somewhere else. He's moved somewhere else, right? I want to shoot you. I want you to see me shoot you, and then I want you to come for me, and then I'm going to set a trap with Night Maiden's Mist. And it is absolutely a war crime. I love it. I love Night Maiden's Mist. It's 14 intelligence for that. And since this build started off as a prisoner, perfect. Perfect. I've got a few more spells. I might start incorporating those a little better into the play as the build goes along. We're still very early into this build, so, you know, I'm not taking full advantage of everything just yet, and there are some weapons that I have that I'm not using yet. One of those is an Estoc with Bloodhound Step on it, and I want to talk about Bloodhound Step, but first, this invasion right here is just a perfect snapshot of this build. Straight sword, whip, the bow, Night Maiden's Mist, quick step, and what we're doing with that, how we're putting it all together. I have been working on reverse quick step backstabs. They look a little bit like this, and as soon as I started like doing that, I just immediately wanted to put it on all my builds, and I thought, no, let's make a specific build that does that. Okay. So I've got a spear, like spear, just the spear, and it's got Bloodhound Step on it, and I remember everybody complaining about Bloodhound Step, rightfully so. But there's one thing that is bothering me. It's eating me alive. Everyone was mad at Bloodhound Step. I understand why. A lot of annoying players used Bloodhound Step to be more annoying. I get that. I understand. Why did no one say it's Dark Souls 2's backstep? No one said that, and that's what it is. And it bothers me that nobody talked about it. Everybody was so mad, everybody was so busy being mad at it, that no one commented on it. Bloodhound Step is Dark Souls 2's backstep. Dark Souls 2, if you've never played it, had an interesting mechanic where there was a stat associated with your iframes. The more agility you had... Look at this true combo. The more agility you had, the more iframes you had on dodges and backstabs. I have come to appreciate that. I think that's actually not a bad idea. I'm not even going to open that can of worms here, but I've just come to appreciate it. Okay, well, Dark Souls 2 also had iframes on a backstep. Now, you can still technically dodge an attack with a backstep in Dark Souls 3 and Elden Ring, but if you do that, there's no iframes involved. It's just pure spacing. It can be beautiful, but it's not iframes. It's just spacing. Bloodhound Step gives you a backstep with iframes on it. And I don't... It bothers me that no one ever said that. I've never played with Bloodhound Step until this build. This is the first time I have ever put Bloodhound Step on a weapon and used it to fight. I've had Bloodhound Step on weapons before just to get through, swamps or whatever. But, yeah. Going back to the spells that I don't use, one of them is Hidden Body, and, this is why I don't use it. You just don't have to. The Trick Mirror, giving us the ability to blend in, and the talisman, I always want to call it the Dancer Talisman, but that's not what it is. That talisman that makes us invisible if we're crouching. Between those two things, that's all you need to be sneaky, That's it. There's no need for Assassin's Gambit or whatever. I mean, you can use them, and they do serve a purpose, but honestly, most people will just walk right on top of you and never notice you're there. Once they see that you're doing some invisible shenanigans, if they're hip to it, they'll spam lock on, and it becomes a little harder to get away with it. And in that situation, some of those other spells and skills and abilities or whatever would come in handy. But just being able to appear out of the shadows to blast somebody with an arrow, that's all I need. That's all I'm asking for. You're gonna see me doing some weird attempts at roll catches here. I'm trying to slow myself down because sometimes I'm running faster than the game is, and if I want to get more consistent roll catches with the whip, I need to slow myself down, So I've been working on that, as well as the quick step, reverse quick step, backstab. I've been working on that. I took my frog build and I was making myself get roll catches with carrying greatsword, which is really hard. Using it as a wake up after backstabs, and the only way to do that is to play at the speed of the game and not at the speed of my head, And it's the same with these whip roll catches. They're really good. I don't want to sell them short, but they're better if you'll play the speed of the game as opposed to the speed of the fight as it is in your head. Because in your head, this fight is going instantly. You know what I mean? It's going insanely fast. But I always remind myself you drink that wondrous physic and it lasts for 3 minutes, and most invasions are over before that physic runs out. So time sort of dilates around invasions. It feels faster than it is, And it's the same thing with trying to get a roll catch. it feels like they're gonna roll faster than they do, you know. But oh man, I love this build. I love it so much. The addition of the whip, the quick step backstabs, the ability to hide, the ability to like make good use of the bow, and like the synergy between like the hiding and using the bow, and like actually giving the bow like a chance to shine and like have a cool purpose. I love making these types of builds. These are my cute builds. You know, they're not builds so much as they are like characters. Sometimes I get like comments on YouTube videos, and I get comments on Twitter. Like I'll post something, a clip on Twitter or something, and people are like, another invader who just runs away. It's like, yeah, it's a freaking, you know, assassin type. It's a rogue. This is an RPG. They're going, that's what they do. They hide, they run away. This is not Street Fighter. This is not Chun-Li, you know? I don't understand how you can be so unappreciative of the RPG aspects. That's a good example of one of those. That would have been a roll catch if I'd played a little, you know, slower. Anyway, that always just bothers me. Since all my weapons are lightning infused, this build loves nothing more than to fight in a puddle. That's its favorite thing to do. I've got a ton of invasions in Liurnia with this build. Level 66 obviously is rife with those types of invasions. But those types of invasions, the really, really long ones, they don't always make the best YouTube content. If you're streaming it, and you know the result of the invasion is in question, there's some intrigue there. There's some suspense. It's not as much, you know, on a YouTube video. You can make good content with that, but it's just not always. And that's what. So all of these invasions that you're seeing are pretty cut and dry, pretty quick. That first invasion was pretty good. It wasn't long, but it featured a lot of stuff. And a lot of, there you go, that's a roll catch. A lot of these other ones have been, you know, pretty rapid fire. And that's because it just makes better content, I think. But those long drawn out invasions in Liurnia, just shooting the water with lightning arrows, with barrage, and just sending lightning rippling all across the lake, and it like seriously is like chipping at people's health, you know, like it's something they have to actually like, oh my god, I can't just stand here, you know. I love that. That's almost as good as Night Maiden's Mist. Not as good, but almost as good. But yeah, this build's also not finished. Like I've got some other weapons that I want to put on the build. I need something to deal with Radon Beach gankers, and I'm thinking that's going to be some type of lightning strike weapon. This build did beat Estelle, so I have access to Waves of Darkness, which is a great Radon Beach ganker answer. Like, that's great to use against those types of people. But I'm just not sure if it fits on this character, you know? I'm not necessarily opposed to it, but if I can find something else that works, I would like to try that. And there's a few other weapons that I'm looking at and considering putting on this build. But we also have a Misericord that has Royal Knight's Resolve on it, and I just use that Royal Knight's Resolve to just instantly break people's guards, and then you have a Misericord, and it takes a huge riposte and does a bunch of damage. If you happen to get a Misericord, Royal Knight's Resolve, backstab, or whatever, you know, that's also great. But, you know, that's just a bonus. Check out this backstab. Oh, yeah. That one's just about prediction and knowing what your opponent is probably going to do because they've done it. That's one of those old roll catch backstabs from Dark Souls or Dark Souls 3. You're basically just wanting your opponent to roll forward into you when you don't do anything. It's basically a panic roll and you punish it with a backstab. They're hard to get in this game, and especially because not a lot of people are rolling forward into you. Most of the time in this game, people just don't roll at all until they see themselves take huge damage, get knocked into the air, get pancaked on the ground, bleed or frostbite, and then they'll roll. But like, they don't roll for getting hit. Like Dark Souls 3, you would hit people and they would mash roll just as soon as you hit them, right? And in this game, they just don't. People just don't roll like they used to, which is honestly better, I think. And that's a detail of balance that, you know, you can say it's unbalanced, but whatever. It's obviously something that was like done with consideration. It makes more sense in this game to come out swinging. Everything does a bunch of damage, so just come out swinging, you know? So people do. They come out swinging. So you're not going to get a lot of chances to get one of those roll, catch, backstabs. But if you do, and you get it, put it on YouTube because it looks nice. Yeah. So this right here, going back to, you know, long invasions, and making good content with them. This one, like, it's perfect for like straddling that line, and it allows me to show off like some weird platforming that most players probably aren't familiar with. And if they're not familiar with the platforming, they don't know I can get to them. And that's exactly what this build wants to do. It wants to get to you in ways that you haven't considered it getting to you. And it works great with this build. I love it. I was thinking about, like, you know, the thing about making the content where it's like, oh, just like a 30-minute long invasion, is if it's content like this where I'm doing commentary and I'm talking to you guys, like, what do I talk about if I'm not doing something? Like right here, I can be like, yeah, maybe a lot of people don't know about this platforming, and I can talk about that. But if it's just me hiding in a bush, like, I was thinking about a guy who takes a bottle of sriracha to a Mexican restaurant because he wants people to think that he's cultured, and he calls himself Man of the World. And so then I came up with a song for Man of the World, and it goes like this. Man of the world, you know we eat sriracha. Okay, and you just repeat that over and over again. And then you sing it, same exact lyrics, same melody, except you go crazy with it, like Tennessee Ernie Ford at the end of 16 Tons, where he's just going absolutely wild with every syllable. You do that, but with Man of the World, because you know he eats sriracha. Alright, so imagine that little diatribe right there, okay? But I'm doing the bit for like 15 minutes. And right now, I know some... Stop. You're commenting right now. You're typing in that you would want to watch that. Don't... Go ahead and hit send, but don't finish the comment. You know? Just let the comment stop where I told you to stop, and just hit enter. I'm not doing it, okay? Would it be kind of funny? Yeah, but I'm not going to actually do it. Right? It's just it's a bit about a bit. So, yeah. And that's the problem with that type of content, is what do I talk about at a certain point? Here we've got all kinds of cool stuff happening. We've got Moonveil, alright? And we know that I love that quick step, that reverse quick step backstab, and it is perfect against Moonveil. It is perfect against that. So that's, you know, be on the lookout for that. Boom. Gonna get that booty. Snatch it up. Yoink. When I started doing that, I just wanted every build to be able to do it. And then I thought, nah, let's just have one build that does it. Look at these absolute catches. Dad, come outside with me. Bring a ball and a mitt and let's catch, because I'm catching. I'm just catching. They call me Catcher in the Rye. More like catch you and you die. This is really clever. I'm climbing up the ladder, and the host either drops down and I don't notice, or they dropped down before I started climbing the ladder. I can't see them dropping down. I've watched this clip. I've never seen it. I've never seen them come down. I have no idea how they did it. So I show you off some platforming that maybe you guys weren't familiar with, and he showed me some platforming, and I'm still not familiar with it. Oh, also on the S-Stock, I have Piercing Fang. And here's some whip and S-Stock action, just like the old Dark Souls 3 days, except with Piercing Fang. Anyway, all this music that you've heard in the video, it's all come from Resident Evil 2, the original Resident Evil 2. If you ever get the remake, there is the option to get the OG soundtrack as like a add-on content. It's worth the $5. You should definitely do it. Anyway, thanks for watching the video. I'll see you guys next time. Until then, later y'all.